Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Hog Roundup. I'm Evan Kamiko. That's Ty Richardson. You know us by now. I don't know why I'm laughing, Ty, but what a night the other night for the Razorback men's basketball team. 2-0 in SEC play to start this year. A lot different feel from last year when they were 0-5, then 1-6, searching for any reason for optimism in January. The optimism is here, and it's Darius Acuff Jr.
Darius has been phenomenal, and he continues to wow, whether it's Arkansas fans, college basketball pundits, or anyone that's just taking in the game. And he's frustrating a lot of opposing fans, whether it's the ones in Knoxville or the ones that are in Oxford, even though there wasn't anyone at that game because they're still very much in football mode. I have been wowed by what he's done. And you think about freshman wise, how he eclipsed Isaiah Joe's mark of double-digit scores to start the season. Loved what I've seen from him. I got to give him credit on getting teammates involved. 9 assists against the Ole Miss Rebels on Wednesday night. That's the element. I know everyone loves to score, and I love the ability to get to the rack. But the fact that his turnover to assist ratio is as high as it is, and it flip side, the assist to turnover ratio is as potent as it is, that's the best part of his game, Evan.
I was saying, too, like, it is so fun watching him cut into the paint, have all these defenders essentially surround him so that he can't get a floater off, kick the ball out to TB. And TB was 4 or 5 from behind the arc the other night, like a really good shooting night from Trevin Brazil. I think that is like the most beautiful play in basketball, the kick out three. And it's so much fun watching the two of them just continually hit that shot and got it going against Ole Miss.
As someone that can't create his own shot and pick up basketball, I love the guys that can dribble drives. I would love playing on Darius's team. And TB, you think about what we've said about him. He gets that first or second shot going. He got that steal and dunk early, and he was confident after that. He's one of those guys that you have to get good looks early so he can be confident the rest of the game. And TB hit a shot towards the end of half where he was like halfway cocked already when he caught the ball. I don't know if you watched that with like 6 or 7 seconds left when he launched it. It was just kind of a weird, quick motion, but he buried it. Trevin is lethal in the corners at the top of the key. And if you close out too hard on him, he's going to drive. So there's a lot of elements of this Arkansas basketball team that can beat you. It's just been heavy Darius Acuff lately.
There's 2 games in a row now where we've seen kind of weird shots go in for the Razorbacks. You talk about the TB one. Think about the Carter Knox three-pointer that started Arkansas really pulling away from Tennessee this past weekend. So really, really fun that you brought that up. I'm curious, though. What is your strong point in pickup?
Hustle, terrible. We played on Wednesday night, and I am so out of shape. I hadn't played in 6 months, Evan, and it's hustle. It used to be being able to shoot the 3. That's withered away. It used to be floaters. That's gone. I really don't have any skills anymore other than just being fun to be around, I guess, because I have no skills when I step foot on a basketball court. And I hate that because I used to be able to shoot and I can't shoot anymore.
Hey, there's something to be said about being a vibes guy. I found myself to be a very good vibes guy when it comes to pick up basketball. I play great defense. I chuck up threes all the time. I drive. I only have a right hand. And we play pickup sometimes with some of the guys here at KNWA, and they tackle me. Like, we play some tackle football on the basketball court.
Intense.
But nobody wants to hear us talk about our pickup games that we play. They want to hear us talk about the Razorbacks. What I found was interesting in this game is physicality. It's been a standing point against Tennessee, and it showed up again against Ole Miss. Now, I know the defense maybe wasn't there, 87 points, but I think it's more credit to Ole Miss in the second half. They just didn't miss a shot. Like, Kafke went off for a while. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Klafke? Eduardo Klafke, the Brazilian. He didn't miss shots. It just felt like Arkansas couldn't pull away. But when we talk about physicality, out-rebounding for the second game in a row, this time Ole Miss, there was a +10 margin for the Razorbacks. How important is that when it feels like box score-wise that Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle don't have a great night, that they're still able to out-physical some of these other teams, like a team in Ole Miss who's going to be at the bottom of the SEC standings probably towards the end of the year?
Yeah, and Ole Miss is a little smaller than Tennessee when you just look at length. So for Arkansas to do it against Tennessee is a massive deal, considering the rebounding differential that Cal talked about after the game. And then you look at the stats for the Vols. To do it against this team on the road is still a big deal. I think when you look at statistics-wise, it's the out-rebounding, it's the 30-plus bench points, it's the 40+% from the three-point line, which Arkansas, I don't know if it's going to stand, number one team in the SEC in threes, top 15 in all of college basketball. That's not typical of a John Calipari team outside of like 3 years ago with Shepard, Dillingham, and those guys. So there are some unique factors of this basketball team. At the end of the day, the number 7 is what counts. That was the differential in the win the other night, and now Arkansas can look to Auburn here on Saturday.
And again, they're 2-0 as we get to conference play. It feels like, there's only so much you can talk about with this game. They took care of business. Were you worried a little bit towards the end when Arkansas is up by 16? It looks like they're going to go into cruise control. Were you worried that maybe it was a lack of, concentration at the end? Or is that, hey, hats off to Chris Beard. He coaches every team he does is going to play hard. They're going to play to the final whistle. Does it have to do more with Beard and Ole Miss or Arkansas losing, concentration for a little bit?
I think it's a combination of both, because when you look at Chris Beard's teams against Cal, they've won the last 3, and you could make a case that Cal has had better players at points in time. And then last night, Arkansas outmatched Ole Miss, but Ole Miss battled because they were at home. And this is not, as you alluded to, a team that's probably going to finish at the top of the SEC standings, talking about the Rebels. And again, give credit to Beard because he's a really good college basketball coach, and his team did not quit on him. But at the end of the day, Arkansas closed out. Yes, you would have loved to lengthen that league and won by 12 or 15, but you still won on the road in the SEC, which ask a lot of teams this week. It's not always the easiest thing to do.
A win is a win is a win, as my lights flicker right here. But I gotta ask.
I was wondering if that was me or you.
No, that's all. That's all. They're getting ready for shows right now when we're recording this. But again, it's Ole Miss and it's Arkansas. Did you have kind of flashbacks towards the end of the game? Trevin Brazile, it's a tight game. He goes to the free throw line. We were both in Nashville last year for the SEC tournaments. That was like popping into my head at the end of the game. Like, oh my God, this is a chance to go to 3 possessions. Are we going to have the same story? And then we almost had it. Where Trevin Brazile had flashes from ghosts that he saw back in Nashville a couple months ago.
I was thinking something very similar, and free throws, they were low 70s last night. I think they were 23 of 30, if I remember that correctly, on Wednesday night. So but against Tennessee, they were dang near 90%.
Yeah.
So that's been more of Arkansas. They've been closer to 80% than 70%, and that's typically an uncharacteristic team of this year's team versus some of Cal's teams in the past. I was a little nervous like you. Anytime you play an SEC school on the road and things at the tail end of the game aren't going your way, you get a little tight, but they closed it out, and now you have a chance to Evan, they're 2-0 for the first time in a decade in conference. I don't know if that same team in 2014 and 15 went 3-0. That's a Hog Stats question, but either way, you're off to a really good start in the conference play.
Yeah, we'll have to do some deep analytics there to find that out at some point. But as we look at the schedule ahead, you've talked about it. They're 2-0 right now. You've got a great opportunity to go 3-0. Auburn, you're going to the jungle. That's going to be an electric game on Saturday. And then South Carolina comes here. So at least you can position yourself to go 3-1 instead of 0-5 like they were last year. What do you take of the upcoming schedule for this Razorback team when you look at Auburn and South Carolina as the next 2 teams they'll face before we probably record another episode?
Auburn's favored in this game unless it flips before tomorrow at 5. And so that kind of was odd to me because I think the thought was you got an 0-2 SEC team versus a 2-0 SEC team, a ranked SEC team versus a non-ranked team. But that goes to show the power of the jungle, what you just talked about. Statistically, it's the best home venue in the last 5 years. They got more wins than Rupp, Bud Walton, Thompson Bowling. So this is not going to be an easy test for the Razorbacks this weekend. Can they win? Absolutely. They have the talent to do so. They showed already they can win on the road. They showed that they compete against top-tier teams, and Auburn's not necessarily one of those. Still, at the end of the day, you have to do it, and we'll see if they'll be able to accomplish it and move to 3-0 after this weekend.
What's going to be key in that game for Arkansas to get the upset? I wouldn't say upset, but when you look at the line, an upset essentially win over an Auburn team that's probably right around 26, 27, 28 in the country.
I would think that you got to play better defense than you did against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not a good offensive team, and yet they nearly scored 90 points on you. So that's a little concerning if I'm John Calipari, and I'm nitpicking. I'm nitpicking at this point because there's a lot of elements in that game you can point to, but Auburn's more gifted offensively, and if you play at times the defense you played against Ole Miss, then Auburn's going to potentially hang 100 on you. And not that Arkansas can't compete, because we saw they scored 94 in their first SEC road game, and they scored one of the either the highest output or one of the highest outputs that Tennessee's allowed all year. They can score. You just don't want to put yourself in that situation, Evan, in this environment come this weekend.
I think it's going to be avoiding, like we've kind of talked about, avoiding the big Auburn run early in this game that could knock this team out. Luckily, it's more to the level of Texas Tech rather than Houston, where Houston will not let you back in the game. Texas Tech, they let Arkansas back in the game just by the style they play. I think it's a young Auburn team. Of course, Bruce Pearl no longer the coach there. It's his son, Steven, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think that's a underrated storyline of the weekend for Hog fans. And then you kind of look forward, then you've got your two ranked matchups. It's Georgia and Vanderbilt. I just want to ask you, as we kind of wrap up on our basketball part of the show, how impressive was that win the other night against Alabama for the 11th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores?
Oh, it was incredible, especially the comments that Nate Moats accurately made before the Vanderbilt game, saying they really hadn't played anyone. Because they had.
Yeah.
Like, people were like, all these Vanderbilt fans are mad and all this stuff. It's just like, he told the truth. Now, it ended up costing him in terms of people blasting him for it. And Alabama still gave them very much a competitive game. But for the Commodores to get that win and solidify that you are a bona fide SEC team and are one that deserves to get the recognition that you have to this point inside the top 15 of the AP poll, that was very impressive. And here's what I personally think is going to happen. Vanderbilt comes to Fayetteville, they'll lose, and Arkansas will go to Tuscaloosa, and they'll lose. So you'll have a potential. I don't know what's going to shake out the rest of the season, but in terms of that triangle, there will be a three-way tie. And I don't have the SEC tiebreaker rules in front of me for SEC tournament seedings, but I just think that's how it's going to play out between the Commodores, the Razorbacks, and the Crimson Tide.
I mean, regardless, if Arkansas is a top 4 seed, they get the double bye in Nashville. That's where you want to be. Yep. If you're John Calipari, you don't have to play 5 games. You'd rather play 3 and then Selection Sunday. So all of the things benefit. But the fact that we're saying like Vanderbilt football and Vanderbilt basketball and Indiana football are good is beyond me. Again, we'll talk a little bit about college football playoffs coming up. But Ty, anything else on basketball before we go and take a quick break?
I think the SEC is very winnable for Arkansas. I think there's going to be some ups and downs like there is every year. But Florida's not as good as people thought they were. I know Tennessee's had a brutal non-conference slate like the Razorbacks, as has Alabama. But if I'm an Arkansas fan, I like to wager a little money. I might toss it a few pennies, a few shekels on the Razorbacks to win the conference.
We don't condone betting here on the Hog Roundup. That's time.
Clip that out.
Hey, that's time.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
That's Ty Richardson. I'm Evan Camico. We're just gonna come back after a break. Back here on the Hog Roundup, that's Ty Richardson. I'm Evan Camico. Ty, to preface this for everybody at home, we filmed this yesterday, so any news between 5 o'clock on Thursday and on will not be included in this. But so far, I think we can talk a lot about what Ryan Silverfield has been able to do as the Razorbacks coach, bringing in a new transfer portal class. If you look at On3 and 24/7 Sports, both of them right now rank the classes 8 and 11, so really highly right now where you want to be if you're Arkansas. What do you make of the early transfer portal signings, and are you excited about what Silverfield's doing finally?
Yeah, I think you have to be. We've been patiently waiting on things to come, and you're starting to see these Power 4 players trickle in. Now, do you know any of the names? No, I don't. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But when I recognize brands or stats or all conference awards and different items like that, I say, okay, starting to build something. Now, we don't know what they're like in the locker room. We don't know how they'll adjust to the field. We obviously don't know what injuries will happen between now and the beginning of September in conference play. But portal-wise, it is encouraging to see what he's done. Quarterbacks, what's that look like still? You got A.J. Hill, still waiting on a few others, I would think. And how many more players do you add? You lost, 30 plus?
Yeah.
How many more? And that's just to the portal. That doesn't even include the graduates and the guys going to the National Football League. What's that look like? it's going to be a fun run here these next few weeks.
Yeah, it feels like you talk about quarterbacks. Let's start there, and then we'll talk defense. Are you surprised that he brought over Hill from Memphis? Or because there were rumors going around saying Arkansas was looking into Caton Hauser, the quarterback from ECU. Are you surprised they didn't bring in a veteran like that to give KJ Jackson a run for his money in fall camp?
It's not over, so we never know what could shake out. I don't know what KJ is commanding money-wise, and you see these outrageous figures that are being tossed out for like a Brent Sorsby, $5 million, and Messamakers making $7.5 in Oklahoma State over 2 years. And in the mind of Silverfield and guys like Crowley and the rest of the staffs, like, okay, how do we divvy out? This is the money allocated for our football team and program for this year. How do we split that amongst KJ Jackson, other quarterbacks? And maybe they get a bargain for KJ. And I think there's a lot of fans that saw what he did at the end of the season. Are like, okay, let's see what we can do. Now, by no means am I sold that he's going to be a solid to great SEC quarterback. There's a lot that has to happen from him between now and then. But maybe that's the decision they made. I guess we'll find out here in these next few weeks if they don't add what we presume to be a guy that competes with KJ Jackson.
And we'll be honest, like Taylon Green was solid at best. Like I wouldn't put him in the great category when it comes to SEC quarterbacks after 2 years of seeing what he was able to do. Solid, absolutely. A decent starter, but not the kind of quarterback where Arkansas fans hoped he was going to be in early 2025, that was going to say, hey, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the conference. He's going to be able to take Arkansas and win games single-handedly in the fourth quarter, and we saw the opposite happen. So really interesting. And even bigger question is, who's he going to throw to? Because it feels like we don't have a lot of names right now who are going to make up the wide receiver core next year. Obviously, you do have Ismail Cece coming back from injury. Courtney Crutchfield, we believe, is coming back. Still no sign about C.J. Brown. I think he's coming back. But it feels like offensively they haven't done as much, at least when it comes to defense in the portal.
Yeah, there's definitely been more of an emphasis on the worst overall group than there was the offense, which wasn't phenomenal or anything, but they were serviceable at times. The turnovers just plagued them over and over again. And you were talking about Taylon Green. That's what killed him at Arkansas, is the turnovers over and over again. And I love Taylon, and I rooted for him, and I was in his corner a lot of times, but he made it really difficult at times if you're an Arkansas Razorback fan. So how they emphasize that offense and the different position adds here in these next few weeks and how they go about do it, I think people are very intrigued by. But you've got to have a defense compete in the SEC. And thus far, based on just, again, names alone, it looks like you added some dudes that can play a little bit. Now, where they're ranked now, as you refer to, with inside the top 12 of 24/7 and On 3, could completely change by the time that LSU, Georgia, Alabama, and the rest of the SEC Blue Bloods round out their class.
I was gonna say, let's see what happens when Ole Miss loses. How many guys from Oxford follow Lane Kiffin down to Baton Rouge? It might not be a lot of them with the way that Pete Golding's coaching right now, but it'll be fun to keep an eye on all of that. And like you just mentioned there, how things transcribe and transpire as we continue on. But yeah, the defense, I think that's something that's been really big. I mean, Kamari House is really the big name when you bring him over from UNC. 81 career tackles, couple tackles for loss and interception. Shelton Lewis, cornerback from Clemson. You've also got Jaheim Johnson, who I believe his nickname is Joker from Tulane, which is pretty dang cool. So, hopefully they're better than last year, and we'll see what happens. Anything else, Ty, at least when it comes to the transfer portal, before we talk some college football playoff after the break?
I think that portal-wise, it's been just fun and entertaining to see where guys end up, to see how much money is being spent nowadays. We talk about MLB, NFL, NBA free agency, and the entertainment value it provides in the offseason. Well, we're still in the season, and we're also getting this in addition to that. I'm not saying every part of it is right, but it definitely keeps us well locked in to college football, even though college basketball has started within conference play in the sport.
Everyone feels like everyone's on their toes waiting for, whoever to break. Oh, this person is staying. Before we go to break really quickly, I do want to ask, Arkansas is retaining not only, Quincy Rhodes, KJ Jackson, but also some other guys. Charlie Collins, a big name that, in my opinion, developmental-wise in year 3, I would expect him to have kind of a similar jump that Quincy Rhodes did last year as well, and just Jaden Platt. Both of those guys going to be coming back. What do you make of that?
Well, I saw Quincy post a video today about, hey, no cats. We need some dogs on this team. And Quincy is from North Little Rock. I think Charlie went to Little Rock Mills, if memory serves me right. And just from a frame standpoint, Charlie's like, 6'5", 6'6",
Yeah.
looks like. He's got to add some weight. But in terms of just the height, looks like he could be an SEC defensive end caliber. So that's what they need. They got to get some guys to get the quarterback. Quincy was the only really person you had to worry about if you're opposing offensive lineman or running back last year, blocking for rushers or blitzers of any sort. So if you could help Quincy out this next season, getting guys to the QB, then Ryan Silverfield is going to look like a much better coach than any of what we saw last season. And hopefully, man, I don't know if I can go through another 2-10 year, Evan. I just don't put me through that.
I hope the best. I hope that they don't have to suffer through another one of those seasons, because everyone will who watches this. All right, Ty, let's take one more break. We'll wrap up shop here on the Hog Roundup when we return. Back here on the Hog Roundup, that's Ty Richardson. I'm Evan Kamiko. We're wrapping up shop. Ty, last night, the first semifinal game concluded. We don't know the winner because we're recording this beforehand, but we'll talk about tonight's game. That's going to go on between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Oregon Ducks. We've been covering college football playoff now for the last couple of weeks. Who do you got going to the national championship tonight?
Well, I feel like I would do something wrong, just horrid, if I picked the Oregon Ducks, despite them losing earlier this year. And it's very difficult to beat a team twice. But I think Indiana is really – I thought Georgia would be the team that dethroned the Hoosiers in the national championship game. And I still think this is going to be a heck of a football game tonight. But at the end of the day, one team has Fernando Mendoza, who is the best quarterback in college football, who's the most likable quarterback. I can't always equate and associate those two terms together, but the more you listen to this kid day in, day out, you have to like him, whether you're a teammate, a coach, even just a casual college football fan. So I'm taking the Hoosiers, your Hoosiers, to move on tonight.
It's crazy. It's been fun. It's been a ride. No matter what happens tonight, I am happy that we're even talking about Indiana football at this time. It wasn't too long ago where, Indiana and Arkansas could be used in the same breath of how they're both 3-9 teams, 2-10 teams, and there's no hope and there's nothing. So if you can learn anything from Indiana, it's that anything can happen and you can flip a program in a year as long as you hire the right coach. But I don't know how many Kurt Signettis there are out there. There's not many.
No, I wish that same story was applicable here in Fayetteville. I wish we could apply that same storyline to the football program that we watch and have to sit through year in, year out. You haven't had what I would define as a great season since 2011. So since 2012, basically had, 14 years of mediocrity. You've had two good points in 2015, 8-5, and 2021 when you went 9-4, but nothing like you're getting into experience right now, Ev.
10 wins is unheard of. 14 wins right now is beyond me. Ty, anything else before we go? It's a relative slow week in Arkansas, which isn't a bad thing. Baseball and softball about to ramp up. The Razorback baseball team ranked preseason number 4. You've got gymnastics getting underway this weekend. Anything else before we wrap shop?
I think just the excitement level for this national championship game to potentially see Indiana compete, and just the hope that Arkansas can, if the Hoosiers could do it, then the Razorbacks can do it. That's the thought you have to have if you're Hunter Yurachek and you're Ryan Silverfield. I got to believe that.
The why not us mentality. You never know.
Exactly.
Anything could happen any given Saturday in the SEC, right?
Yep.
All right, well, that is going to do it for another week of Hog Roundup. For Ty Richardson, I'm Evan Kamiko saying so long. We'll see you back here very soon on the Hog Roundup. Have a great weekend, everyone.